The unimpressive guardian. They thought we were weak, fragile, just another primitive species clinging to a dying planet. But they didn't understand what it means to be human. We don't break. We adapt. We survive. And when the galaxy came knocking, it wasn't ready for the answer. This is the story of how humanity changed everything. The transport shuttle shuddered as it docked with the immense structure known as the Galactic Alliance Council Station. Captain Alex Mercer watched through the viewport as the magnetic clamps engaged, metal groaning against the station's pristine docking port. Earth had been part of the Alliance for less than 5 years, and Alex was still getting used to the grandeur of alien architecture. Docking procedure complete, Captain Mercer announced the ship's station atmosphere compatible. No quarantine protocols required. Alex nodded, gathering the small duffel that contained everything deemed necessary for this diplomatic mission. No weapons, officially. The Alliance had strict protocols about armed representatives at council meetings. Alex smiled. There were many ways to be armed that didn't involve conventional weapons. The airlock cycled through its decontamination sequence, hissing as pressure equalized. When the doors finally opened, Alex stepped onto the polished floor of the reception chamber. The room was enormous, with soaring ceilings that sparkled with embedded light crystals. Representatives from at least 12 different species stood in formal arrangements, their varied physiologies creating a living tapestry of galactic diversity. And every single one of them was staring at Alex. "That is Earth's guardian." A high-pitched voice chirped from a slender avian being with iridescent feathers. "I expected something larger." "Humans compensate for their physical inadequacies with excessive confidence," replied a bulky reptilian diplomat, scales gleaming under the light. "It rarely serves them well." Alex approached the gathered dignitaries with an easy stride, offering the universal greeting gesture. Right hand open, palm forward. "Captain Alexandra Mercer, Earth's guardian and representative to the Council. I understand we have a situation that requires immediate attention." The tallest of the aliens stepped forward. Admiral Gentar of the Orvian Collective was an imposing figure, 3 meters tall with 4 articulated arms and skin that shimmered with bioluminescent patterns. The patterns currently displayed skepticism. "Captain Mercer," the Admiral's voice resonated through translator nodes. "The Council expected Earth to send someone with more experience. The Void Stalkers have destroyed 3 colony worlds in the past month. This is not a training exercise." Alex's expression remained neutral. "Earth sent its best. You requested a guardian, and I'm it." A ripple of dismissive sounds moved through the gathering. Humans had been part of the Alliance long enough to be granted membership, but not long enough to earn respect. Earth was viewed as a curiosity at best, a planet with decent resources and an unusually adaptable species who somehow survived despite their technological inferiority. "Follow me," Admiral Gentar ordered, turning without waiting for acknowledgement. "The Council is assembling in the strategic chamber." Alex fell into step beside a blue-skinned diplomat from the Tellurian Republic. The alien glanced down with compound eyes that reflected Alex's image a dozen times over. "You should know," the Tellurian whispered, "the Council does not expect much from Earth in this conflict. Your presence is political." "I gathered that," Alex replied. "But appearances can be deceiving." The strategic chamber was a massive hemisphere with a holographic display at its center. As Alex entered, the projector was already active, showing the destruction of an outpost on the rim of Alliance space. The footage was disturbing. Sleek black ships that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it, weapons that cut through defensive shields like they weren't there. "The Void Stalkers," announced an elderly Kyrian scientist, his tentacles waving for emphasis. "They appeared from unexplored space 3 standard months ago. Their technology exceeds our most advanced systems. Their motives remain unknown, as they have not responded to any communication attempts." Alex studied the footage carefully. "Has anyone survived an encounter?" The room fell silent for a moment. "One ship," Admiral Gentar finally answered. A mining vessel that was departing the Centauri outpost when the attack began. They observed from a distance before escaping through hyperspace. I'd like to speak with the survivors, Alex said. A tall, slender alien with crystalline features made a sound like breaking glass, their version of laughter. And what would a human understand about such advanced technology? Your species barely mastered fusion drives a century ago. Alex turned to face the crystalline being. What's your name? The alien straightened, apparently offended at being addressed directly. I am Supreme Tactician Klovik of the Zen hierarchy. Well, Supreme Tactician, sometimes fresh eyes see what experienced ones miss. It's not about understanding their technology. It's about understanding their behavior. Klovik's crystalline surface rippled with what might have been indignation. Their behavior is simple. They appear, they destroy, they vanish. Nothing is that simple, Alex countered, stepping closer to the hologram. May I? Without waiting for permission, Alex reached into the projection, expanding a section of the footage where one of the Void Stalker ships was attacking a defensive installation. See here. They're targeting communication arrays first, then power cores, then weapons. That's not random destruction. That's a tactical approach. They are removing threats in order of priority. Admiral Gentar moved beside Alex, studying the footage with new interest. You have a military background. Something like that, Alex replied vaguely. The truth was more complicated. Before becoming Earth's guardian, Alex had specialized in studying unconventional warfare, specifically how historically outmatched human forces had overcome technologically superior opponents. It was a field of study that most Alliance species found irrelevant. When you had superior technology for thousands of years, you rarely needed to think outside established parameters. But humans had always excelled at exactly that. The council meeting begins in 1 hour, Admiral Gentar announced. Captain Mercer will be provided with all available data on the Void Stalker encounters. Though I fail to see what insights could possibly. The station's alarm system suddenly blared to life, cutting off the Admiral's dismissive comment. Red warning lights pulsed throughout the chamber as the holographic display automatically switched to external sensor feeds. Proximity alert called out a technician from their console. Unidentified vessel approaching at high velocity. Energy signature matches Void Stalker reconnaissance craft. Panic erupted in the strategic chamber. Diplomats rushed toward exits while security personnel attempted to establish order. Several species activated personal shield devices, creating a chaotic-like show of protective bubbles. Defensive systems online, reported another technician. But the craft is exhibiting unusual maneuverability. Targeting solutions failing. Alex moved calmly against the flow of fleeing dignitaries, approaching the command console where Admiral Gentar was barking orders to the defense controllers. Your shields won't stop them, Alex said quietly. The Admiral turned, luminescent patterns flashing with anger. This is not the time for human pessimism. It's not pessimism. Look at the approach vector. They are using the station's own gravity field to accelerate. They'll be past the outer defenses before your gunners can compensate. The Admiral stared at Alex, then back at the display. How did you? Let me take a shuttle. Alex interrupted. I need to get outside the station's gravity well. Absolutely not. We're initiating evacuation protocols. All dignitaries must proceed to secure shelters. Alex's expression hardened. You brought me here as Earth's guardian. Let me do my job. Before the Admiral could respond, the lights throughout the station flickered and died, plunging the chamber into darkness. Emergency systems engaged seconds later, bathing everything in an eerie blue glow. Primary power grid compromised, announced a disembodied voice over the comm system. Unknown energy pulse detected at docking ring 3. They're already inside, Alex said, reaching into the duffel bag and withdrawing what looked like a simple wristband. Admiral, get everyone to safety. I'm going to greet our visitors. Supreme Tactician Klovik's crystalline form vibrated with alarm. You? Against Void Stalkers? This is suicide. Maybe, Alex replied with a grim smile. Activating the wristband, a subtle blue glow spread up Alex's arm, a nanomaterial combat suit forming and spreading across the human's body. But we humans have a saying. Sometimes the best defense is a good offense. Without another word, Alex sprinted from the chamber, leaving the stunned alien dignitaries behind. The corridors of the station were chaos. Emergency lighting casting deep shadows as various species rushed toward designated safe zones. Alex moved against the flow, following the station schematics memorized during the journey to the Council. Docking Ring 3 was 5 levels down and halfway around the station's circumference. 3 minutes of running brought Alex to a sealed security door. Beyond it lay the compromised docking area. The door's control panel flashed red, indicating lockdown protocols were active. Station I. Alex addressed the system. This is Captain Mercer, Earth representative. Override security protocol. Authorization Echo 9 Delta. A pause, then, override not recognized. Earth security clearance insufficient. Alex smiled. Figured as much. From a pocket in the combat suit, Alex withdrew a small device and attached it to the panel. The device hummed briefly before the panel's lights shifted from red to green. Thank you, human ingenuity. The door slid open, revealing a scene of destruction beyond. The docking bay's interior was scorched, with debris floating in the partially decompressed atmosphere. Emergency force fields contained the worst of the damage, but the air still tasted thin and metallic. And there, in the center of the destruction, stood a figure. The Void Stalker was humanoid, but wrong in subtle ways that triggered instinctive revulsion. It stood nearly 2.5 meters tall, with limbs that seemed too long, too flexible. Its surface wasn't armor or skin, but something in between. A shifting, light-absorbing material that made it difficult to focus on directly. Where a face should be, there was only a smooth, reflective surface that distorted like rippling water. It turned toward Alex, the featureless face reshaping itself to approximate a human smile. The effect was deeply unsettling. Human. It spoke, the voice resonating directly in Alex's mind rather than through the air. Unexpected. Interesting. Alex stepped forward, combat suit fully activated now, its surface hardening into protective plates while remaining flexible at the joints. You know who I am. We know what you are. The Void Stalker's head tilted unnaturally. Primitive, adaptable, dangerous. You got the last part right. At least, Alex replied, continuing to advance slowly. Why are you attacking Alliance worlds? The creature's face rippled again. Testing. Learning. Your species understands this concept. Before conquest, one studies the prey. Alex stopped, now just 5 meters from the intruder. That's your mistake. We're not prey. The Void Stalker moved suddenly, inhumanly fast, crossing the distance between them in a blur. A limb that had seemed arm-like elongated into a razor-sharp appendage, slashing toward Alex's throat. But the human was no longer there. Alex had dropped and rolled, the combat suit enhancing natural reflexes with predictive algorithms developed specifically for close-quarters fighting. Coming up in a crouch, Alex pulled a small cylinder from another pocket and pressed a button. The cylinder expanded, forming a staff of some strange, glossy material. As the Void Stalker lunged again, Alex swept the staff in an arc that connected with the creature's midsection. There was a flash of blue energy, and the Void Stalker was thrown backward, crashing into a damaged shuttle. Shocked, Alex asked, twirling the staff into a defensive position. That's another thing about humans. We're quick studies. The creature rose, its form rippling with what might have been anger. Your weapons should not affect us. It's not exactly a weapon, Alex replied. More of a scientific instrument. Turns out your light-absorbing technology has a resonance frequency. Took our scientists about a week to find it once they had sensor readings. For the first time, The Void Stalker seemed to hesitate. "Your scouts," Alex continued, circling slowly. "Advanced scouts, testing our defenses before the main force arrives. You've been doing it for decades, haven't you? Small incursions, probing attacks. But you made a critical error." "What error?" The creature's mental voice had lost some of its confidence. Alex smiled, a predator's smile. "You assumed all species think alike. The other Alliance races panicked when you attacked, retreated, fortified, followed predictable patterns. So you never considered that one species might study you back." The Void Stalker suddenly moved again, faster than before, fury evident in its unnatural movements. But Alex was ready, the combat suit enhancing human reflexes just enough to stay ahead of the attacks. Staff and alien limbs clashed in a deadly dance across the damaged docking bay. With each connection, blue energy flared, and the Void Stalker's movements became less fluid, less certain. "You see," Alex grunted, deflecting another strike. "Humans have a long history of being outmatched. It taught us to look for weaknesses, to exploit advantages our enemies don't even know they've given us." The Void Stalker lashed out with multiple appendages simultaneously. One caught Alex across the chest, sending the human flying into a wall. The impact would have been devastating without the combat suit, which absorbed the worst of the damage. Alex rose slowly, breathing hard. "And we never, ever give up." Before the creature could attack again, Alex pressed another control on the staff. The blue glow intensified dramatically, then pulsed outward in an expanding sphere of energy. The Void Stalker froze, its form suddenly rigid as the energy wave passed through it. Then, with a sound like shattering glass, fractures appeared across its surface. Light began to leak from these cracks, not the darkness-absorbing material of before, but something bright and unstable. "Your technology depends on perfect coherence," Alex explained, approaching the now immobilized creature. "Disrupt that coherence, and the energy containment fails." The creature's mental voice was fading, distorted. "Others will come. I'm counting on it," Alex replied. "Earth is ready." The Void Stalker collapsed inward, imploding with a final flash of light that briefly illuminated the entire docking bay. When the light faded, nothing remained but a scorch mark on the deck. Alex tapped the communication node on the combat suit. "Mercer to command. Intruder neutralized. You might want to send a science team to collect data before the evidence dissipates completely." There was a long silence before Admiral Gentar's voice responded, tone markedly different from earlier. "Understood, Captain Mercer. Security teams are en route. The Council requests your presence once the situation is secure. Tell them I'll be there shortly." Alex deactivated the staff, which collapsed back into its compact form. "And Admiral, you might want to reconsider those evacuation plans. I have a feeling the Void Stalkers aren't done with us yet." As Alex walked away from the scene of the confrontation, security teams rushed past, many casting shocked glances at the lone human who had done what their advanced technology could not. Earth's guardian had stood tall, and the galaxy had noticed. The human solution. The council chamber was silent as Captain Alex Mercer finished the briefing. Gone were the dismissive glances and condescending postures that had greeted Earth's representative just 24 hours earlier. In their place was something new: attention, perhaps even respect. "The device you used against the intruder," Supreme Tactician Klovek's crystalline form shimmered with poorly concealed agitation. "Your scientists developed this based solely on sensor readings." "Preliminary readings," Alex corrected, standing at ease before the half-circle of alien dignitaries. Earth's Defensive Research Division analyzed the attack patterns from previous Void Stalker encounters. "We noticed inconsistencies in how their ships absorbed energy, fluctuations that suggested an underlying vulnerability." Admiral Gentar's bioluminescent patterns pulsed with reluctant admiration. Yet no one else in the Alliance detected these fluctuations, because no one was looking for them. Alex replied simply, When you have superior defenses, you focus on strengthening what you already have. But when you're outmatched, you look for cracks in your opponent's armor. The holographic display at the center of the chamber showed the aftermath of the docking bay confrontation. Science teams had collected residual energy readings from where the Void Stalker had imploded, data now being analyzed by the station's advanced systems. The Council remains concerned. A new voice interjected. Councillor Devex of the Promethean Conclave was ancient even by his species standards, his gray-skinned face deeply lined with age. One scout ship neutralized does not guarantee effectiveness against a larger force. Alex nodded. You're right. That's why we need to act quickly before they adapt. The human wishes to attack. Clavec's crystalline laughter echoed through the chamber. With what? Earth has barely a dozen interstellar vessels, none with the firepower to challenge Void Stalker capital ships. We don't need firepower, Alex countered, stepping toward the hologram. We need precision, and allies willing to take calculated risks. Alex gestured, and the holographic display shifted to show a star map of the sector where the most recent Void Stalker attacks had occurred. They're establishing a pattern. Each attack comes from a different vector, but they all retreat in the same general direction. I believe they have a staging area, hidden, but within reach. Admiral Gentar studied the map, eyes narrowing. The Obsidian Nebula, a region of space almost impossible to navigate safely. Perfect cover for an invasion force, Alex agreed, and the perfect place for an ambush. A murmur ran through the council members. It was Devex who spoke again, his ancient voice carrying surprising strength. You propose to ambush an enemy whose technology outmatches our own, in a region of space notorious for destroying ships. This is madness. Alex smiled. It's human thinking, Counselor, and it's our best chance. For the first time since the meeting began, another figure stepped forward from the gathered representatives, standing nearly as tall as Admiral Gentar, but twice as broad. The Kithrax warrior's scaled hide bore the scars of countless battles. Commander Vorg was a legend among the Alliance military, a veteran of 3 interstellar conflicts who rarely spoke at council meetings. I will hear the humans' plan. Vorg rumbled, mandibles clicking in what might have been anticipation. My battle fleet stands ready. Alex nodded respectfully to the massive warrior. The Kithrax fleet is exactly what we need, Commander. Along with volunteers from other Alliance species, particularly those with expertise in gravitic manipulation and quantum communications. Over the next hour, Alex outlined a strategy so unorthodox that several council members dismissed it outright as suicide. Others, primarily those with military backgrounds, listened with growing interest. The Void Stalkers exploit predictability, Alex explained. They study conventional responses, then counter them precisely. So we give them something unconventional, something no rational military strategist would attempt. The plan was audacious. A small force of Alliance ships would penetrate the Obsidian Nebula, deliberately triggering the gravitic anomalies that made the region so dangerous. Rather than fighting these anomalies, they would use them, riding the resulting shockwaves deeper into the nebula than any ship could normally navigate. The resonance disruptors we've developed can be modified to affect their ships at a distance, Alex continued. Not enough to destroy them, but enough to prevent them from using their phase shift technology to escape. Once they're trapped, Commander Vorg's fleet can engage from multiple vectors. And how do you propose to find them in the nebula? Klavec demanded. Our sensors can barely penetrate the outer layers. Alex smiled. We won't need to find them. They'll find us. Bait, Commander Vorg said with new appreciation, massive head nodding slowly. The human offers themselves as bait. Precisely. A small force, apparently vulnerable, penetrating their territory. They won't be able to resist eliminating us personally. The council debated for hours, arguments ranging from outright rejection to cautious support. In the end, it was Commander Vorg who tipped the balance. The Kithrax will join Earth's Guardian, he announced, massive fist thumping against his armored chest. If we die with purpose. 20 hours later, the mission was underway. Alex stood on the bridge of the K-Thrax battle cruiser Iron Fang, watching as the swirling gases of the Obsidian Nebula filled the view screen. Behind them, hidden just beyond sensor range, the rest of Vorg's fleet waited in formation. Your species has a curious relationship with death, human, Commander Vorg observed, his gravelly voice surprisingly quiet. You fear it, yet you court it. Alex glanced up at the massive warrior. We respect it, Commander. There's a difference. Vorg's mandibles clicked thoughtfully. Perhaps. The Council said your people have fought wars among yourselves for most of your history, yet you survived. We did more than survive, Alex replied. We learned. Every conflict taught us something new about ourselves. Our weaknesses, yes, but also our strengths. And what strength do you bring to this battle, Guardian of Earth? Alex's expression hardened slightly. Unpredictability, creativity, and a stubborn refusal to accept defeat. The K-Thrax commander made a sound that might have been laughter. Good qualities in a warrior. We shall see if they are enough. The small fleet, 3 K-Thrax battle cruisers and 2 Tellurian science vessels, pushed deeper into the nebula. Navigation became increasingly difficult as gravitic anomalies distorted space around them. Twice they narrowly avoided collisions with hidden debris, and once a sudden energy discharge from the nebula itself disabled a secondary system. We are being watched, Vorg announced suddenly, pointing to a sensor display that showed faint energy readings at the edge of their detection range. They have found us. Alex nodded. Sooner than expected. Good. Signal the science vessels to prepare the resonance matrix. The plan relied on precise timing. The modified disruptors needed to be activated simultaneously from multiple points to create an overlapping field that would trap the Void Stalkers within a specific region of the nebula. Energy spike. Called out a K-Thrax sensor operator. Multiple signatures on approach vector. The view screen shifted, showing the distinctive black shapes of Void Stalker vessels emerging from the nebula's swirling gases. 3 scout ships similar to the one Alex had encountered on the station, and behind them, something much larger. A capital ship that seemed to bend light around its massive hull. They'd brought their command vessel, Vorg observed, mandibles clicking with excitement. The human's trap works. Alex studied the approaching formation with narrowed eyes. Something's wrong. They're moving too confidently, almost like. Energy weapons charging. The sensor operator shouted. Pattern unknown. Evasive maneuvers. Vorg commanded. All ships activate defense protocols. The K-Thrax vessels responded instantly, breaking formation as the first energy barrage sliced through the space they had occupied moments before. The Void Stalkers adjusted with unnerving precision, weapons tracking each Alliance ship separately. They anticipated our strategy, Alex realized, gripping the support rail as the ship executed a sharp turn. They're countering the exact maneuvers we planned. Commander Vorg turned his massive head toward Alex, eyes narrowing. What now, human? Alex thought quickly, mind racing through possibilities. They're anticipating conventional tactics. So we give them something no one would expect. Looking up at Vorg, Alex asked, how do your people feel about collisions? The K-Thrax commander's expression shifted to what might have been a smile. We consider them a valid combat technique when necessary. Good, because we're going to ram the command ship. Even the hardened K-Thrax bridge crew stared at Alex in shock. Explain, Vorg demanded. Their predictive algorithms are based on self-preservation. Alex said quickly. No rational commander would deliberately sacrifice their vessel. They won't be prepared for a direct kamikaze run. Kamikaze. Human military history. I'll explain later, if we survive. Alex turned to the tactical display. We need to get close enough to transport a team aboard their command ship. Once there, we can deploy the resonance disruptors directly into their systems. Vorg considered for only a moment before nodding. Your plan has merit, human. The Iron Fang is yours to command. Alex wasted no time. All power to forward shields. Set collision course with the Void Stalker command ship. The massive Kthrax cruiser lurched as its engines fired at maximum thrust, driving it straight toward the heart of the enemy formation. The Void Stalker vessels adjusted their attack patterns, clearly confused by the suicidal maneuver. They're recalculating, Alex observed. Their predictive algorithms can't process this level of apparent irrationality. Commander Vorg's laughter filled the bridge. Perhaps there is wisdom in madness. The distance closed rapidly. The Void Stalker scouts attempted to intercept, but the Kthrax gunners kept them at bay with concentrated fire. The command ship loomed larger in the view screen, its strange light-absorbing surface making it difficult to judge its true size. Prepare boarding party, Vorg ordered. Elite warriors only. I'm going to, Alex stated, checking the combat suit's systems. The disruptors need to be placed precisely. Vorg nodded. As you wish, Guardian. It will be an honor to die alongside you. Let's focus on the first part of the mission before we start planning our funerals. Alex replied with a grim smile. The range closed to critical distance. The Void Stalker command ship finally seemed to comprehend their intention, attempting to veer away at the last moment. But the momentum of the Kthrax cruiser was too great. Impact in 5 seconds, called out the helmsman. 4, 3, brace for collision. Vorg roared. The impact when it came was less catastrophic than expected. The Kthrax cruiser's reinforced prow slammed into the Void Stalker vessel's midsection, but instead of a conventional collision, there was a strange moment of resistance followed by a partial penetration. The two ships fused together in a grotesque merging of technologies. Structural integrity holding at 60%, reported an engineer. The enemy vessel's hull has adapted to absorb the impact energy. Perfect, Alex said, already moving toward the transport bay. Their adaptive technology just gave us a direct access point, Commander. Vorg and a dozen Kthrax warriors were already armed and armored for close-quarters combat. We are ready, human. The boarding party gathered in the transport chamber. Despite the awkward fusion of the two ships, the station's technicians managed to calculate a stable transport corridor directly into the Void Stalker vessel. Remember, Alex briefed the warriors, conventional weapons will have limited effect. Stay close to me. The resonance disruptors will provide some protection from their energy-based attacks. Vorg handed Alex a massive Kthrax blade. Sometimes, the old ways work best. Alex accepted the weapon with a nod of thanks. Let's hope so. The transport sequence activated, and reality dissolved around them. They materialized in what appeared to be a central corridor of the Void Stalker ship. The interior was as alien as the exterior. Walls that seemed to shift and pulse with dark energy, floors that absorbed sound and light. The air itself felt wrong, heavy with particles that made breathing difficult. Life support systems to maximum. Alex ordered through the combat suit's communicator. This atmosphere is partially phase-shifted. The Kthrax warriors activated their own environmental systems, the lights on their armor glowing brighter in the strange darkness of the Void Stalker vessel. Which way? Vorg asked, massive weapon at the ready. Alex consulted the scanner built into the combat suit. Energy readings suggest the central control systems are 3 levels down. We need tow. A rippling movement at the corridor's far end interrupted the briefing. 3 Void Stalkers emerged from what had appeared to be solid wall, their forms shifting and elongating as they prepared to attack. Defensive formation, Vorg commanded. The human must reach the control center. The Kthrax warriors moved with surprising speed for their size, forming a protective barrier around Alex. The Void Stalkers attacked with the same unnerving quickness Alex had encountered on the station, but this time they faced the full might of Kthrax elite warriors. The battle was brutal and quick. 2 Kthrax fell almost immediately, their armor proving insufficient against the Void Stalkers' phase-shifting attacks. But the aliens had not anticipated the resonance disruptors Alex had distributed to the team. When activated, the devices created localized fields that forced the Void Stalkers to maintain physical cohesion, making them vulnerable to conventional weapons. "Forward!" Vorg shouted as the last attacker collapsed into imploding light. More will come. They fought their way deeper into the ship, losing warriors with each encounter, but making steady progress toward the central core. Alex's combat suit was damaged, environmental systems failing as they descended to the lower levels where the atmosphere grew even more alien. Finally, they reached a massive chamber that pulsed with dark energy. At its center floated what appeared to be a navigational system, a three-dimensional representation of the surrounding nebula, with Alliance positions clearly marked. "This is it," Alex said, breathing heavily through the damaged suit. The command center. Only 4 Kithrax warriors remained, including Vorg himself. The commander's armor was scored with deep gouges, one of his 4 arms hanging useless at his side. "What now, human?" he asked, securing the entrance. Alex approached the central console, studying its alien configuration. These connections appear to link to their main power source. If we can attach the primary disruptor here, it should cascade through their entire network. From a compartment in the combat suit, Alex withdrew the final device, larger than the others, with a pulsing core of its own. This was the culmination of Earth's desperate research, a technology developed in secret while the rest of the Alliance had focused on conventional defenses. Approaching life forms, warned one of the Kithrax warriors at the entrance. "Many. Too many." Vorg moved to Alex's side. "How long?" 2 minutes to calibrate the device." Alex replied, fingers working quickly over the alien interfaces. "Then we need to get clear before detonation." The Kithrax commander nodded grimly. "We will hold them as long as possible." What followed was a desperate last stand. The remaining Kithrax warriors formed a final defensive line as dozens of Void Stalkers converged on the command center. The battle was hopeless from the start, but it only needed to last long enough. Alex worked frantically, using the combat suit's adaptive systems to interface with the alien technology. Behind, the sounds of combat grew more intense as the Kithrax warriors fell one by one. "1 minute," Alex announced, not looking up from the work. Vorg now stood alone at the entrance, massive frame blocking it entirely as he fought with the fury of his entire species. "Work faster, human." "Trying." Alex grunted, bypassing another security protocol. Their systems are adapting to the intrusion. The final connections were made just as Vorg fell back, multiple wounds leaking green blood onto the strange floor. "It is done," he asked, voice weaker than before. "It's done," Alex confirmed, activating the device. A blue glow spread from it into the Void Stalker systems, the alien technology visibly reacting as the resonance cascaded through its networks. "We have 30 seconds to reach minimum safe distance." Vorg laughed, a wet sound through injured lungs. "I do not think we will make it, human." Alex looked at the fallen warriors, then at the commander. "No, but the Alliance will survive." The device was counting down, blue energy now pulsing through the entire chamber. Void Stalkers had breached the entrance, their forms shifting frantically as the resonance field began to affect them. "One last glory," Vorg said, raising his weapon with his remaining strength. Alex nodded, standing tall beside the Kithrax commander. Together. As the Void Stalkers swarmed into the chamber, Alex and Commander Vorg stood their ground. The resonance device pulsed faster, its energy spreading throughout the alien vessel. "Any regrets, human?" Vorg asked, hefting his massive weapon. "Not dying today," Alex replied, activating the combat suit's final protocol. "Transport sequence, emergency override. 2 life signs to Iron Fang." Vorg's eyes widened in surprise as blue energy engulfed them both. The last thing they saw was the Void Stalkers converging on the device, too late to stop what was already in motion. They materialized on the Kithrax vessel's bridge, collapsing to the deck as emergency systems engaged around them. "Break away from the Void Stalker ship," Alex shouted to the stunned bridge crew. "Maximum thrust, now." The Iron Fang's engine screamed as the damaged cruiser tore itself away from the enemy vessel. They had barely cleared the immediate vicinity when the resonance cascade reached critical mass. The Void Stalker command ship didn't explode as much as it imploded, collapsing in on itself as the energy-absorbing technology that made it so formidable became its undoing. The resonance field spread outward, catching the nearby scout ships in its effect. One by one, they folded into nothingness, leaving only dissipating energy signatures. Victory! Vorg rumbled from where he lay on the deck, blood pooling beneath him. A worthy battle. Alex knelt beside the fallen commander. "Medical team to the bridge." "Stay with me, Commander." "You saved us both," Vorg said, mandibles clicking weakly. "Why?" "Because that's what humans do," Alex replied simply. "We find a way to survive, and we bring our friends with us." The remaining Alliance vessels converged on their position as the nebula began to settle back into its natural state. The Void Stalker presence had been eliminated, at least for now. 3 days later, Captain Alex Mercer stood once again before the Galactic Council. This time, there were no dismissive glances or condescending remarks. The chamber was silent as Alex completed the mission report. "The resonance technology has been shared with all Alliance members," Alex concluded. "Earth scientists are working with your engineers to develop defensive systems that can protect against future incursions." Admiral Jen Tar stepped forward, bioluminescent patterns displaying formal respect. "The Alliance owes you and Commander Vorg a great debt, Captain Mercer. Your unconventional tactics have saved countless lives." "Commander Vorg deserves the credit," Alex insisted. "His warriors gave everything." "As did yours," called a gruff voice from the chamber entrance. Commander Vorg entered slowly, supported by medical devices, but very much alive. The human speaks with unwarranted modesty. "Without Earth's guardian, we would all be lost." Supreme Tactician Klavic's crystalline form shimmered with what might have been embarrassment. "Perhaps we have been hasty in our assessment of humanity's value to the Alliance." "Perhaps," Alex agreed diplomatically, "but understanding takes time. We've all learned something from this encounter." Councillor Devex rose from his seat, ancient face solemn. "The Council has reached a unanimous decision. Earth will be granted full membership status, with all rights and privileges thereof. Furthermore, a new division will be established, the Unconventional Warfare Command, with Captain Mercer as its director." The pronouncement sent a ripple of surprised murmurs through the chamber. Full membership was a status that usually took decades to achieve. Alex bowed respectfully. "Earth accepts these honors with gratitude. We look forward to contributing more fully to the Alliance's future." As the formal proceedings concluded, Commander Vorg approached Alex. "The Cathrax have a tradition," he said, voice stronger than it had been on the ship. "Warriors who fight together become blood-bonded. My people would be honored to form such a bond with Earth." "The honor would be ours," Alex replied, extending a hand in the human gesture of friendship. Vorg took it carefully in his massive grip. "They will come again, you know. The Void Stalkers or something worse. I'm counting on it," Alex said with a slight smile. "And when they do, they'll find us ready, together." As they stood there, human and Cathrax, other species began to approach. Questions about Earth's defenses, requests for joint training exercises, proposals for technological exchanges. What had begun as dismissal had transformed into respect, perhaps even admiration. They had mocked Earth's guardian, laughed at the small, seemingly fragile humans sent to represent a backward planet. They weren't laughing anymore, because when the human warrior stood up, the galaxy changed forever.